Our next Special Heroes banner features Year 3 of Bridal Festival units. This is actually a pretty interesting limited time banner because out of the 5 total characters that are being introduced, 4 of them are completely new characters for Fire Emblem Heroes. Our summonable brides and grooms features Tanith, Sigrun, Pent, and Fjorm. Fjorm is our only character that is already in the game and everyone else is new. Tanith and Sigrun hail from Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, aka Ike and Makai's games, and they are part of Sanaki's Holy Guard, which are basically her bodyguards. We got Bridal Festival Sanaki last year, and regular Sanaki's Symbolin Tome has refined that revolves around flying units, which is a reference to her Holy Guard Pegasus Knights. Tanith and Sigrun are both flying units here, so they can continue protecting Sanaki. As for Pent, he's actually already married to Louise, who will be our free Tempest Trials unit for this bridal theme. The two of them are from Blazing Blade, which is Lyn, Eliwood, and Hector's games. With the brief introductions over, let's talk about each of these units' new skills, stats, weapons, and overall playstyles. Tanith is a flying lance unit, and I guess there's a sharp point underneath all those flowers. She has 37 HP, 34 attack, 36 speed, 33 defense, and 21 resistance. We have tons of lance flyers in the game, but Tanith actually stacks up quite nicely. In terms of offensive stats, she's in the same as Tana and matches up quite nicely with Cordelia's 35 attack and 35 speed, which is a nice benchmark. Her HP is a little low, and for a Pegasus Knight, her res is on the lower side too. However, her 33 defense is pretty good considering the highest defense for a lance flyer is Tsubaki's 35. If you're looking to fight melee enemies, Bridal Tanith is in a pretty good spot. For her skills, it's not a new banner without Swift Sparrow, and that's fine with her great attack and speed. Chill attack is also fine, debuffing the strongest enemy. Her C skill is Fortified Flyers, which isn't insanely rare, but it's still a good Fire Emblem buff if you want some extra tankiness. This bridal banner features some inheritable weapons that all have the same effect. Tanith has the Lofty Blossoms, which is a 14 might lance that when initiates combat grants +4 attack and speed during combat. So the time has finally arrived for inheritable Swift Sparrow weapons. Obviously these will be player phase weapons, and assuming you can refine them, I would highly suggest the plus speed refine, which grants another +3 speed for melee weapons and +2 speed for ranged weapons. You can have a weapon that gives +7 extra speed and +4 attack when initiating, which is pretty darn solid. Tanith already has Swift Sparrow as her A skill, and with her great 34 attack and 36 speed, it's perfect to stack even higher. For some other example units who can inherit the Lofty Blossoms, you want units with good base attack and speed. I tried to pick out some easier to get units who don't have unique weapons, and those can be like Cordelia, Shigure, Oscar, Finn, or even Valentine's Eliwood. Obviously there are a lot of other choices. Next up, Tanith introduces Harsh Command Plus. Oh boy. Now it neutralizes target allies' penalties and status effects, which include things like panic or gravity. It then keeps its same ability to convert debuffs into buffs, which is great. Basically, Harsh Command Plus takes the effects of regular Harsh Command and the Restore Plus Healer skill. It finally counters panic, and you don't need to bring a healer if you like using Restore Plus. It's a short upgrade to Harsh Command, but it's still going to be pretty rare. For builds, Tanith is very much set out of the box with Swift Sparrow and Lofty Blossoms. She's clearly made for player phase, and definitely pick up a plus speed or plus attack refined for her weapon. While Chill Attack is nice with an emphasis on attack and speed, Desperation will always be a staple B skill. It's been data mined that we are getting Brazen Attack and Speed as a sacred seal, which is going to cement itself as the go-to seal for any Desperation unit. Truly scary stuff. I'm not going to go into heavy detail, but Tanith can also opt for a more defensive setup if you want. She has good attack, speed, and defense, which is an unusual combo, so if you want a defensive lance flyer, she isn't a bad option. For the most part, I'm sure most people will stick with her base kit, and you can't really go wrong with double Swift Sparrow. Next up is Sigrun, who is the commander of Sanaki's Holy Guards. She is a sword flyer with 35 HP, 31 attack, 38 speed, 27 defense, and 31 resistance. Sigrun is very fast, only beaten by Legendary Byomo for all sword flyers. She's similar to Shida but with more attack and defense but less resistance. 27 defense and 31 resistance isn't breaking records, but it's somewhat balanced, especially for such a fast unit. Her HP is pretty low, but it's not like we don't have many low HP related skills to work with. For old skills, Sigrun comes with Ardent Sacrifice, again emphasizing that she can use her low base HP to set up for certain skills, like Desperation. Her C skill is Air Orders 3, which is still a newest skill, only found on Hot Springs Hinoka. Basically, it grants a buff to adjacent flying allies that lets them move to any space next to an ally within 2 spaces, similar to Zogias' Warp Powder skill. For her weapon, Sigrun has Cake Cutter Plus, and my god, that must be one humongous cake. It's a 14 might sword and has Swift Sparrow 2 baked in. Much like Tanith, Sigrun's base stats are decent enough to use the weapon effectively, and she'll hit over 40 speed easily. Now we don't have that many inheritable swords, but the Cake Cutter is definitely a good one. Some example units can be Rutger, Athena, Hana, Marissa, Lloyd, Selena, Soleil, and just because it's unfortunate, you also got Sigbert, whose Dark Greatsword has the exact same effect. Now with Shiro and Sigbert having their own weapons turning into inheritable versions, I'm expecting refines for them at some point. Dark Greatsword is still a 16 weapon, so yeah, I probably wouldn't give it to Sigbert despite how good the cake cutter can be. Sigrun introduces another 8th raids only skill. This one works only on defense and grants bonus speed and defense based on the number of defensive structures you have left standing on your field. If you have all 5, that's a massive plus 10 extra speed and defense, while losing 3 or more only gets you plus 1. I've been using Picnic Flora, who has this type of skill on my defense teams, and from my experience, it's very strong in many scenarios. You can easily set up your structures far in the back, forcing the attacker to fight your units first to get to those. While I'm still not sold on the offensive versions, I think these defensive versions are quite good. For example, Sigrun can reach up to 48 speed thanks to this skill, and with her Swift Barrel weapon, she can break 50 speed on initiations. For builds and playstyles, Sigrun basically wants to do what Tanith does as a player phase initiator. Unfortunately, her base kit isn't as decked out as Tanith. As usual, if you aren't using Sigrun in 8th raid's defense teams, change her A skill out for literally anything else. The classic Fear plus Desperation combo is going to be prevalent, especially when you got Swift Sparrow weapons, and again with Brazen Tag and Speed coming as a Sacred Seal, the combo just got so much better. With Sigrun's highest res stat, you can work ploys into her build as well, but you want res increasing skills like Fury or giving her a weapon with a plus res refine instead. If you want to play around air orders, then Flyer Formation in the B slot or Sacred Seal slot can be a lot of fun as well. As for the most part, Sigrun's low HP but high speed all but set her up for desperation type builds. Our third unit is Pent, who is a Blue Mage Cavalier, a bold class type in the Everlasting Age of Reinhardt. Can Lord Pent take down the Thunder God? Probably not, but let's look at him anyway. Pent has 37 HP, 33 attack, 34 speed, 19 defense, and 21 resistance. Out of the 3 to 4 star Blue Mage Cavs, Pent has the best offensive stat line, but against the more limited competition, he's close to Spring Catria and Valentine Soren. His HP, defense, and resistance aren't exactly noteworthy, and as such, you want to focus on his offensive abilities. For Ode skills, Pent has Rally Up Attack Plus, which is an AoE rally skill and is quite good. His B skill is Delve Range, which neutralizes field buffs on ranged foes. It's more of a defensive ability, but it's fine to keep if you face heavy buffing teams. Pent's weapon is the Vessel of Cheer Plus, which is just a fancy term for a bottle of alcohol. It's a 12 might blue tome and another Swift Sparrow weapon. As mentioned, Pent isn't going to be a huge defensive tank, so extra stats when going on the attack is nice to have. If you wanted to give this weapon to some lower rarity blue mages, you got units like Teotihu, Ursula, La Rochelle, or Mei. These are good weapons, but again, probably won't be replacing many of the more unique weapons many units have. Pent has a new C skill called Pulse Smoke. This is an interesting one. It inflicts special cooldown count +1 to the target and foes within 2 spaces after combat. Basically, after a fight, you add +1 to enemy special cooldowns, which can be very annoying. Specials won't increase beyond its maximum charge, so no, you can't have a whole team running Pulse Smoke, increasing a special to like 10 cooldown. A related effect is the Witchy Wand, which instead of adding +1 cooldown after a fight, it completely resets the special's cooldown, which is way more powerful. It does require an attack to be made, whereas a Pulse Smoke user doesn't need to attack to apply its +1 effect. They must survive the combat, however. Noteworthy, Pulse Smoke does work on fully charged specials, putting them back to 1 cooldown. It also offsets Special Spiral, meaning instead of a unit getting -2 cooldown after a fight, they'll just get -1 instead. This is definitely a cool new skill and can probably mess you up real badly if you aren't paying attention or are very special reliant. If you haven't caught on by now, Fury plus Desperation plus Brazen Tag and Speed will work for Pent too. I would give him the Speed Refine for the Vessel of Cheer, since on initiations, a neutral speed Pent will hit 40 speed, which isn't that bad. Pair that with Death Blow or Darting Blow and you have a good initiator. You can try to give Pent defense and res increasing skills, but his base values are just a bit too low. For Pulse Smoke, it's definitely an annoying skill, but can be awkward in actual battle. It doesn't increase special cooldowns past their maximum, so if Pent KOs his target, the AoE effect isn't going to do anything unless the rest of the team had either fought beforehand to charge their specials up or have pre-charged specials from things like Quick and Pulse. While Sigrun and Tanith can run more defensive builds, I would probably just focus only on offense for Pent. I don't want to mention Desperation every 2 seconds, but when you have a frail attacker who can't afford to take many counterattacks, there's not really a lot of other options. Last but not least, we have Bridal Fjorm, who thank God has something a bit different to talk about. Fjorm is a flying healer and we don't have many of those, so she's definitely a rare unit type. Fjorm has 42 HP, 34 attack, 34 speed, 17 defense, and 23 resistance. Between her, Halloween Mia, and Hot Spring Sakura, I'm gonna say she has the best offensive stat line, and overall 34 attack and speed is very good for a healer. Her 42 HP is another standout trait, with Azama being the only healer with more HP. Her defense and res aren't spectacular, but Fjorm can take a solid hit if needed. Now for old skills, Fjorm has Restore Plus, a very strong healing assist skill that is able to neutralize annoying status effects. With her good attack stat, she'll also be healing a good amount too. Fjorm's A skill is HP and attack 2, granting plus 4 HP and plus 2 attack, simple yet effective. Her B skill is Dazzling Staff, and of course that means she has immediate access to the Wrathful Staff plus Dazzling Staff combo. Lucky for Fjorm, she has a unique staff called Galler Brew. It's a 14 might staff with Wrathful Staff built in. Paired with her 34 base attack and HP and attack 2, she will reach 50 attack total, which ain't bad at all. Galler Brew features another new effect. At the start of the turn, if the foe's HP is less than Fjorm's HP minus 3, and they are in a cardinal direction with Fjorm, she applies Isolation to them. Isolation is a new status effect. The target cannot use or be the target of assist skills through its next action. This is brand new and pretty crazy. You cannot use any assist skills, which means no dance, no reposition, no healing. Allies can't use those skills on the affected target either. This is incredibly useful because Isolation completely shuts down many annoying tactics, including dancers. Now, be aware that Isolation only lasts for a unit's action, which means if they move, they can then still get danced. That may seem a bit useless, however, if you hit the dancer with Isolation, they can't do anything anymore. No dance, no rally skills, no reposition chains, it's kind of insane. Obviously this effect would be useful in many situations, but it's not a complete hard counter. For example, 2 or more dancer teams can definitely still function, unless you bring multiple Bridal Fjorms, which hey, maybe that works. With her decent HP and fire mobility, Fjorm can freely line up with her targets, and in Aether raids the enemy isn't moving anyway. Galler Brew is definitely the most interesting new skill on this banner. Fjorm does bring another new skill, a C skill called Ground Orders. It's a buff for adjacent infantry, armored, or cavalry allies that lets them move to an adjacent space next to any ally within 2 spaces. This is the same as Air Orders, just that instead of buffing flying allies, it buffs up all the other movement types instead. A cool ability, but its effectiveness will come down to execution and map situation. It's one of those skills that will probably be super annoying in the hands of the AI. As our only banner unit with a unique weapon, it's not surprising that Fjorm is already decked out with her base kit. To apply Isolation with Galler Brew, Fjorm wants as much HP as possible, so a health increase in Sacred Seal will be the best. If you want to mess around with Ground Orders, give Fjorm aerobatics so that she can move around her ground allies too. While she may not be as crazy as Brave Veronica, who can apply buffs and debuffs, Fjorm is a formidable attacker if you give her one of the rare attack and speed increasing A skills. Healers can use attack and speed solo or attack and speed push, and with her strong base attack and speed plus some ally buffs, Fjorm can be scary too. I think she will be an extremely good healer and unit to have in general, especially if Isolation doesn't make its way to another skill effect. Again, I don't think she is a hard counter that solves all your enemy dancer / rally trap problems, but it's a start, and I think you'll see her on both sides of Aether raids. That's it for this banner. I think everyone is pretty solid, but definitely not super busted or anything. Fjorm is good and unique, so I do think she's the one to get, and we'll have to see how Isolation affects battles. Now, if you are passing on this banner, we do have a Tempest Trials coming soon. As mentioned, the Brazen Tag and Seal has been data mined, not 100% confirmed yet, but I don't think those guys have made a mistake so far, so I'm pretty excited. Also coming is Luis as our Tempest Trials unit. As with past seasonal banners, the first 2 Bridal banners are coming back, so if any of those units interest you, you have to wait a couple days. Let me know your thoughts on our new units in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.